Alright, let's jump right into this explainer and crack open an archaeological cold case that is just absolutely wild. We're talking about a forgotten subterranean structure so massive and so incredibly complex that it literally makes the Great Pyramid look, well, kind of ordinary. It's a structure that completely dropped off the map for 2,000 years. People just dismissed it as a myth. That is, until modern science finally peeled back the sand. But what they found didn't lead to some grand unveiling. Instead, it led to a sudden, absolute silence. Now, we all know the Great Pyramid of Giza, right? It's the ultimate icon of ancient engineering. But get this, a renowned Greek historian who actually walked the grounds and saw both structures firsthand explicitly stated that the Great Pyramid couldn't even compare to what was known as the Labyrinth at Hawara. So we're looking at a huge contrast here. On one hand, a single, widely studied tomb. On the other, a massive 3,000-room complex that was somehow just erased from history and is now protected by a strict government blackout. And here is the exact quote from that historian, Herodotus. Writing around 450 BCE, he said, "The labyrinth surpassed even the pyramids." Now you have to understand, this wasn't just some traveler's tall tale or a myth. Herodotus inspected this place like a professional surveyor. He walked through it. He noted 12 covered courts, precision-fitted white stone, and an architectural scale that left him in absolute awe. I mean, he was a literal eyewitness to a marvel. He documented exactly 3,000 rooms within this colossal complex. But here's the crucial point. How were those rooms divided? Well, he noted that 1,500 of them were above ground, which he actually explored himself, room by room. But the other 1,500 rooms were entirely underground. And when he asked to see them, the Egyptian gods flat out forbade him from entering that lower level. They claimed it held the tombs of the kings and sacred crocodiles. So he was allowed to hear all about the basement, but absolutely never allowed to see it. Let's take a look at how this timeline builds, because this wasn't just one guy making things up. We have multiple eyewitnesses across 5 centuries verifying this colossal building existed. We start with Herodotus, then the geographer Strabo in 25 BCE, followed by the Roman encyclopedist Pliny the Elder in the 1st century CE. Pliny even claimed this Egyptian structure was the original inspiration for the legendary Minotaur maze in Crete. These authors had literally no reason to coordinate their stories. They all saw it, right before it simply vanished from the historical record for nearly 2 millennia. Now, I want you to pay really close attention to Strabo's specific description from his visit. He wrote that the rooms were roofed with a plane of solid stone. Not wooden beams, not small bricks, but massive, continuous monolithic stone plates laid side by side. If you climbed up on top, you'd find yourself standing on a vast, flat plane of stone. Lock this detail in your mind, okay? This specific flat stone ceiling is a vital clue that's going to completely flip our investigation upside down in a minute. Section 1. A century-old mistake. So in 1888, Flinders Petrie, who is widely considered the father of modern scientific archaeology, arrived in the desert at Hawara to finally solve the mystery of this vanished building. He started digging right where the ancient text said the labyrinth should be. And you know what? He found something incredible. He uncovered an enormous artificial stone bed stretching over 70,000 square meters. To put that into perspective, that is the size of 10 football fields, completely made of work stone in one continuous sheet. The sheer massive footprint perfectly matched the ancient descriptions of the labyrinth's size. But there were no walls, no 3,000 rooms, just this massive flat stone surface covered in chips and broken columns. So, Petrie logically concluded that over the centuries, Roman quarrymen must have dismantled the wonder block by block, to build other things, leaving only the foundation behind. Case closed, right? The labyrinth was real, but it was completely destroyed. And honestly, this became the accepted textbook fact for the next 120 years. But hold on, before we just accept that, let's look at what else Petrie dug up. He found an entire cemetery of mummified crocodiles wrapped up like pharaohs, and this brilliantly illustrates a massive flaw in the skepticism surrounding this site. Petrie found these crocodiles exactly where Herodotus said the sacred tombs were located. It proved the ancient eyewitness wasn't just writing fantasy or repeating some local myth. I mean, think about it. If Herodotus was telling the truth about the crocodile cult, why on earth would he be lying about the 1,500 underground rooms? Which brings us to a massive logical problem with Petrie's conclusion. Look, quarrymen take what is easy to reach. They definitely don't dig down to erase 1,500 underground rooms. You simply cannot quarry away a massive subterranean basement. And remember Strabo's quote about the continuous flat stone roof? Well, since a flat roof and a flat foundation look exactly identical from above, we have to ask a world-changing question. What if Petrie made a monumental error? What if he wasn't standing on the destroyed floor of the labyrinth at all, but actually on the intact ceiling of the basement? Section 2. The Radar Breakthrough. Fast forward to 2008, a scientific group known as the Matahania Expedition arrived at Hawara to find out what was really under that stone slab. Instead of destructively digging, the expedition used two completely independent, non-invasive technologies. Step 1 was ground-penetrating radar, which basically sends signals down to detect solid structures versus empty voids. Step 2 was electrical tomography, which measures how the ground conducts electrical currents to find hidden walls. They dragged these machines straight across Petrie's giant 70,000 square meter stone slab to see exactly what was underneath. And the results? Absolutely staggering. Beneath the slab, at depths of 8 to 12 meters, the machines detected undeniable proof of an organized artificial structure. I'm talking about screens lighting up with thick walls, repeating grid patterns, right angles, and clear corridors. Nature does not build in perfect right angles, folks. The radar confirmed a massive geometric grid of chambers existing exactly where the underground labyrinths should be. Petrie was standing on the roof the entire time. Section 3. The Mastermind Engineer. So you might be wondering, who could actually construct such a subterranean marvel? Did the ancient Egyptians really have the technological chops to build something this complex and hide it under a 70,000 square meter stone lid? Well, the builder of the labyrinth was Amenemhat III, who ruled around 1850 BCE during the 12th dynasty of the Middle Kingdom. If you picture pharaohs just as mystical god-kings obsessed with their own tombs, you need to erase that image right now. Amenemhat III was a brilliant, highly pragmatic, and honestly almost paranoid infrastructure engineer. His civilization didn't just build pretty monuments, they re-engineered the entire Fayum region. We're talking widening the Bahr Youssef Channel, building massive embankments and sluice controls, and literally turning a giant natural lake into a hydraulic buffer for the Nile River. They were managing load-bearing stone and highly complex water tables to create flood control systems thousands of years before modern dams even existed. And when it came to his own burial, right next door to the labyrinth, he entombed himself inside a single carved quartzite vault weighing over 100 tons. He sealed it by lowering massive roof slabs using a highly complex system of draining sand. This proves his engineers absolutely had the logic, the paranoia, and for sure the heavy lifting capability to hide an entire administrative labyrinth under a colossal stone lid. A lid that no grave robber or, 19th century archaeologist could easily get through. Section 4. The Silent Drowning. A discovery of this magnitude absolutely should have changed human history. Let's just take a second to recap exactly what we know. Stripping away all the myths and skepticism, we are left with a set of irrefutable facts. The ancient eyewitness site inspections detailing the basement, they're real. The 70,000 square meter flat stone footprint, real and verifiable. The 2008 radar grids showing walls under that stone, completely real. And tragically, the rising groundwater flooding the site is very real too. We have a documented ancient wonder still buried beneath the sand. So what actually happened next? Well, in 2008, after the radar results were presented publicly at a university lecture, the Egyptian government suddenly stepped in. They immediately ordered a strict communications blackout on the findings. They blocked all further excavation permits, flat out refused to release the data officially, and shut down the site. And the reason they gave? National security. Yep, national security invoked over radar images of a 4,000-year-old basement. Wild, right? But here is why this is such an urgent tragedy. A canal was built near the site, and decades of local irrigation have raised the groundwater table drastically. The underground level of the labyrinth now sits entirely below the waterline. This means that 1,500 submerged rooms, potentially covered in pristine carvings and ancient knowledge, are just soaking in agricultural runoff. The salt and chemicals are actively dissolving the walls in the dark, literally as we speak. And what is being lost here is just incalculable. Every ancient source points to this place being a massive administrative archive for all of Egypt. If even a tiny fraction of this lower level survives, it represents the largest sealed repository of Middle Kingdom history ever found. We're talking about an untouched time capsule from a literary golden age. It's a library of stone that would completely dwarf the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb. I mean, this could completely rewrite our understanding of human history. So, as that corrosive water keeps rising and the historical record dissolves into absolute silence, I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder. If there is really nothing under that stone slab, then why has national security been protecting a drowned ancient basement for 17 years? What is so incredibly important about Egypt's greatest lost wonder that it must remain locked away in the dark?